Hi guys. Okay, so today we're going to talk about degrees and radians. Now before we do that, I want to look at this unit circle. A unit circle is centered at the origin and it has a radius of 1. So over here is also 1. Now, we know that when we rotate around, we start with 0 degrees, then 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and all the way around back to the beginning is 360 degrees. Now what I'd like to find first is the circumference of this circle. Now we know that circumference is 2 pi times the radius, and we know that the radius of the circle is 1. So that means that our circumference is 2 pi times 1, or just 2 pi. But we also know that all the way around a circle is 360 degrees. So 360 degrees is 2 pi. And if I divide both sides of that equation by 2, we know that 180 degrees is pi. This is a degree measure, and this is a radian measure. And this leads us to the definition of a radian, which is simply another way to measure an angle. And we're going to look tomorrow in class a little more about what a radian actually is. Okay, so we'll discuss that a little bit more tomorrow. To convert from degrees to radians, so if we have an angle measure in degrees and we want to change it to radians, what we do is we multiply by pi radians over 180 degrees, and then you must simplify. Okay, so let's take a look. We want to convert 30 degrees to radian measure and express the answer in terms of pi. So we take our 30 degrees, and you can put it over 1, times pi over 180 degrees. That's going to give us 30 pi. We multiply across 30 pi over 180. Notice the degrees cancel out because we had degrees on top, degrees on the bottom. Now you need to simplify. And if you can do this on your own and in your head, that's awesome. If you have trouble simplifying fractions, I'm going to go to my calculator here and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the 30 over 180. Notice I am not using the pi. Do not put the pi in the calculator. So when I do this, 30 over 180, my calculator reduces it to 1 over 6. So I go back and I say, okay, that reduces to 1 over 6, but now I have to put the pi back in my answer, and now I have my radians. So 30 degrees is pi over 6 radians. Let's try another one. 108 degrees converted to radians. So we take 108 degrees times pi over 180 degrees. And again, the degrees are going to cancel. We have 108 pi over 180. And I'm going to go to my calculator. So I'm going to use my fraction template, 108 over 180, and I hit enter, and I get 3/5. So now we write 3/5, but we put the pi back in the top, and we have 3 pi over 5. Okay, let's try one more like this. So let's take 600 degrees and convert it to radians, so we multiply by pi over 180 degrees. We have 600 pi over 180. We go to our calculator. 600 divided by 180, and I get 10 over 3. So 10 over 3, and put the pi back in the top. So the pi does not go in the calculator, okay? But you have to remember to put it back in your answer. Now, what if we want to go the other way? We want to convert from radians to degrees. Well, we do the opposite. This time, we multiply by the reciprocal, 180 degrees over pi. And, of course, we simplify. And I'm going to remind you here, don't forget the degree symbol in your answer. if there's no units, notice all those answers, the 3 answers we had here had no units. That means it's in radian measure. If you don't write degrees, that means radians. So if you mean 30 degrees, you have to write 30 with the degree symbol. If you only write 30, it means 30 radians. Very, very, very different. Okay, so let's try this. We are going to convert pi over 3 radians to degrees. So we multiply by 180 degrees over pi. So that gives us 180 degrees over pi. Notice the degrees didn't cancel this time, over 3 pi. What does cancel are the pi's. Now it's just 180 degrees divided by 3, and if you need to use your calculator, that's perfectly fine. You would get 60, and you have to remember that it's 60 degrees. Let's try 2 pi over 3 radians. So 2 pi over 3 times 180 degrees over pi gives us 2 pi times 180 degrees. And you can do that 2 times 180 if you want to, or you can do it all on your calculator. Totally up to you. So it's perfectly okay to go here with your fraction and do 2 times 180 over 3. And you'll get 120. And we have to remember to write what? Degrees. Awesome. Now let's try 3 pi over 4. And we're going to multiply by 180 degrees over pi. So 3 pi times 180 degrees over 4 pi, and the pi's cancel out. Now we go to our calculator, fraction template, 3 times 180 over 4. And we get 135 degrees. Okay, guys, and that's it. So if you want to change from degrees to radians, you multiply by pi over 180 degrees. And if you want to change from radians to degrees, you multiply by 180 over pi. Notice when you have the radians, the pi is already in the angle that you're given. So you want to multiply with the pi on the bottom so they'll cancel out. That's how you remember which way you want to multiply. Okay? All right, guys, see you soon.